Okay, I'm going to call the Tuesday, August 27th, 2019 Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting to order. Tonight we're going to begin with an invocation. I'll ask Alderman Barnhill to lead that, or the Vice Mayor rather, and then we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll ask the Vice Mayor to come down and join me a little bit after this because we're going to do a special proclamation. So if people stand, please. Alderman Barnhill.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight in prayer, thanking you for this great nation that we live in, for all the freedoms that we have, for all the opportunities that are afforded us. We ask that you be with those individuals that protect our freedoms, whether it's soldiers, whether it's our first responders. Be with them. We know it's a difficult job. There's many times where there's family separation, and we ask that you be with them and the families. We also ask that you be with each of us tonight as we make decisions that affect the city and affect the direction in which it will go. We ask that you be with our national leaders. We know that there are many, many decisions that they have to make. Give them Christ-like wisdom to make those decisions. This prayer we offer in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The next item on the agenda is an opportunity for citizens to make comments for items that are not on the agenda. I have one speaker card that's for Janet Curtis, who wants to address growth. I will give her 2 minutes.
Janet Curtis, 3665 North Chapel Road in Franklin. And I sat through the workshop this evening, as I did for others, and heard a lot about infrastructure and planning for the future and the growth of the county and the city. And I want to know, where is all this infrastructure? We've waited how long for Matt Catcher to be completed, and it's first being worked on now. We don't know when these roads and these extensions and everything is going to be built. Why can't we hold off on some of the annexation and some of the growth until these things are built? We heard last week from Southbrook that it's a 12-year project. We don't know what's going to happen in 12 years. We don't know what the cost of things are going to be in 12 years. He talks about people working where they're living. Who in offices makes $80,000 and above other than management? Who's going to afford these homes? We are not looking at the whole picture. We're like Pac-Man, and we're just going around gobbling up things, and we're expanding. We need to slow down. Take a look at what's going on. Listen to the people that put you in the offices that you're in, and respect their points of view, because this is getting out of hand. That's all I hear from everybody. It was done on the survey that this needs to slow down. You move too fast. I'm not against growth at all. I just want it to be responsible. You have developers coming in from out of state that want to build, and they're not taking the community into account, and I'm not sure that you are either. And I think that's very wrong. You need to respect the people that live here and not worry about the bottom line of $1 and what you're going to make out of this. So just take that in consideration when you're making your decisions and look at the whole picture and not just one item. We don't need rooftops. We need homes, we need community, and we need family. And we're not going to have that at the rate you're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Communications for the Williamson County Commission. We do have Commissioner Lawrence here, but I think he's going to speak on one of the public hearing items. So we'll move on to approval of the minutes from August the 13th work session and August the 13th Board of Mayor and Alderman. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I'll ask the Vice Mayor to come on down and introduce our guest, and we're going to read a proclamation. Come on up, gentlemen. Now, girl. Vice Mayor, will you introduce our guest?
I'm gonna let them come up to the microphone and introduce themselves. They enjoy doing that.
I can tell.
I know, I can tell. I've been there. And then the mayor will read the proclamation. Step up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
My name is Jackson Patterson, the commander of Post 22 in Franklin.
I'm Jim Howard. I've been a commander, and I've been an adjutant for a number of years, and now I'm just a member. I've gotten to that age.
I'm Danny Scott. We appreciate being here, and I'm just a member. I've gotten to that age also.
Well, if y'all will gather in here, we'll do the proclamation. Whereas the Congress of the United States granted the American Legion a federal charter on September the 16th, 1919, and it was incorporated as a patriotic veteran organization devoted to mutual helpfulness. And whereas it is the largest wartime veterans service organization committed to mentoring youth and sponsorship of wholesome programs in our communities, advocating patriotism and honor and promoting strong national security and continued devotion to our fellow service members and veterans. And whereas the Legion evolved from a group of veterans of World War I to become one of the largest nonprofit service organizations in the United States with a membership of over 2 million and 12,000 plus posts worldwide. And whereas the American Legion John E. Stevens Post, number 22, Franklin, Tennessee, was granted a temporary charter on September the 18th, 1919, and has been a continual part of the Franklin community for the past 100 years for fulfilling the purposes for which the American Legion was formed. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, hereby proclaim September 18th, 2019 as American Legion Day. In Franklin, please recognize the dedication, patriotism, and contribution of Legionnaires past, present, and future, and the resolve that their nation shall continue to honor the service and sacrifice of all its military personnel and families.
Yep, you're good, you're good. One more. It's good.
Can you read the fine print, John?
I wasn't prepared.
Okay, we have another proclamation tonight, and this is a proclamation concerning World Duchenne Awareness Day. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is the most common fatal genetic disorder diagnosed in childhood, affecting approximately 1 in every 5,000 live male births each year. The Duchenne gene is found on the X chromosome and it primarily affects boys. However, it also may cross all races and cultures. Duchenne results in progressive loss of strength and is caused by a mutation in the gene that encodes for dystrophin. Because dystrophin is absent, the muscle cells are easily damaged. Progressive muscle weakness leads to serious medical problems, particularly issues related to the heart and lungs. People with Duchenne are lucky to enter the mid to late 20s. And Duchenne can be passed from parent to child, but approximately 35% of the cases occur because of random spontaneous mutation. Because it is a rare disease, one of our greatest tools in the fight to end Duchenne is raising awareness. Whereas on September the 7th, 2019, the World Duchenne Awareness Day takes place, Duchenne organizations around the world will raise awareness for all people living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So I declare September the 7th, 2019 in Franklin, Tennessee as World Duchenne Awareness Day. I think the person that requested this was not able to attend, but we wanted to make sure that we had it recorded, and he's going to look at it under YouTube, so.
Mr. Mayor, as you're making your way back, I have a couple announcements I'd like to touch on. One is tomorrow evening at the Brookdale facility on Murfreesboro Road. The South Corridor Public Meeting will be held from 5:30 to 7:30. This again is a transit and transportation options study looking at how the southern part of the metro area, especially Williamson County, Murray County, how they connect into Nashville, both ingoing and outgoing, and the important connections there and options there. So please plug into that as you're interested. And also, we received a really nice recognition today, our police department, and Chief Faulkner did. We received a recognition from the Office of the Secretary of Defense as an employer support of Guard and Reserve excellence. This was especially meaningful because one of our own officers who has recently deployed nominated the city, and especially the police department, for their efforts in support of our folks that serve both their community and their country. So we're very proud of that, and wanted to thank our police department and Chief Faulkner for that in particular. So that's a very nice recognition. And then finally, I want to make one other quick recognition. One of our city team members, Stephen Price, who's helping this come out to the public in terms of our broadcast. Stephen's been our digital media specialist for the last 6.5 years, and he's leaving us this week to pursue some other opportunities. So we've really appreciated working with Stephen and the work he's done and the creativity he's helped bring to some of our communication efforts to connect with our community. So I want to thank Stephen for that. So we also have one person who's joined us. I want to have Shauna touch on that.
I would like to introduce you guys to Mary Cruz Fisher. She is sitting right here. She's the staff attorney and started yesterday, so we're super excited to have her. Mary Cruz.
Welcome.
And I failed to recognize Commissioner Story, who's with us tonight, and always glad to see you. And look forward to your comments if you have any. So next is the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. Tonight, we're looking at item 13. Only one item. I've never seen this happen on the consent agenda, so I would look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 3, this is a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2019-72, a resolution requesting a referendum for the annexation of several properties located south of Long Lane, east of Interstate 65, and outside of the southeastern portion of the Franklin urban growth boundary by the city of Franklin, Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is a resolution on whether to request a referendum for the annexation of 26 properties located outside of the Franklin urban growth boundary near Pratt Lane and Paytonsville Road. This item was previously discussed at the June 11th, August 13th, and August 27th Board of Mayor and Alderman work sessions. As a recap, 26 property owners located outside of the UGB in the area near the southeastern city limits have requested annexation. A referendum of the property owners to be annexed would be required. If the board approves this resolution to hold the referendum and the referendum passes at the polls, the annexation would become effective 30 days after the certification of the election. The property owners are requesting to hold the referendum on October 22nd in conjunction with the Franklin municipal elections. In May of 2018, staff conducted and presented findings of an annexation analysis. The Goose Creek Drainage Basin was one of the top 2 areas defined as having a short-term capability for annexation due to the location of infrastructure already extended to the boundaries of the city limits, the potential for a mixture of land uses, and because annexation could be achieved in a manner that promotes contiguity and orderly growth in this basin. A plan of services has been attached for reference. If the board chooses to hold the referendum, the plan of services will be discussed at the September 10th work session along with the proposed zoning of the state residential. Due to the results of the annexation analysis conducted last year, staff recommends that the resolution to request a referendum be approved.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I have two speakers, Commissioner Lawrence, followed by Pete Crutcher, and I'll allow 2 minutes each, so please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Lawrence. I live at 4100 Clover Meadows Drive, and I am the 4th District County Commissioner. And I want to start out by thanking all of you for your service and all the hard work and efforts that you put in for the people of our community. That often goes unnoticed, so thank you for your service. I want to speak tonight to this issue because it is a great concern to many of us in the county, particularly of those of us who are on the Land Use Plan Committee right now. Some of you may know the county has hired a consultant that has done an extensive study of growth in the unincorporated areas in the county. And if you've seen the plan, there are several alarming things in that plan that we found out that were quite shocking. And the main one being that at the rate the unincorporated area is being developed, within 20 years, we're not going to have much unincorporated area left. Just if you look at the last 12 years of growth, and the consultant that we've hired has told us that if we're going to do something to preserve the rural character of our county, we have to do it now, or we're going to lose the opportunity. So we are in the process of putting together some changes to the land use plan that we're confident that will have some dramatic impact on development in the unincorporated areas. But the big concern about what's before you tonight is the fact that it's very difficult for us to plan if all the municipalities can do basically whatever they want to do in or outside of their urban growth boundaries. Just to go back on the history a little bit of urban growth boundaries, I didn't actually know a lot about it myself until a few weeks ago, and some of you may not know, but the way this all came about was in the late 90s. All the municipalities in the county got together and they held several meetings, and everyone came to an agreement on where the boundaries should be for all the municipalities. And part of the state law basically says that there should be designated areas for growth and density, and there should be designated areas for rural character to have a very well-balanced community. I'm reading from the state law right there when I say that. So we are in the process of doing that, but the very real problem is that, though, if the municipalities can basically say the boundaries don't mean anything, then you can go take sections of the county, and if you do it and Spring Hill does it and Thompson Station does it, which they've already done, Spring Hill did it last week, the question is, where will it end? And you may have in your mind the answer to that. You may say, well, we know where it ends, but Spring Hill may have a different answer to that, and Fairview may have another answer to that. So we are in the process of putting together a summit, and I just talked to Eric about this a few minutes ago. We want to sit down with all of you and have a discussion about urban growth boundaries. This is a very critical time for us to be having these discussions because of what I just told you. We have to do something now if we're going to preserve the rural character of our county. And my fear is if you say yes to this tonight, you're basically saying that we're not going to have rural character because there won't be any stopping municipalities from taking portions of the county, that whatever portions they want. So what we would ask you to do tonight is not deny anybody anything in regards to whether eventually this may or may not come into the city, but to postpone it until we can all have a chance to sit down at the table and talk. And we need to go back basically to what we did in the late 90s. We need to sit down and have a discussion where everybody agreed, your board agreed to where the boundaries are 20 years ago. And that's what we've been planning for basically as a county, on the boundary being the boundary. But if the boundaries don't mean anything anymore, then we're going to have a really hard time protecting and preserving the rural character of our county. So our request to you tonight would be to postpone this decision, or basically not, you're not saying no forever, but basically for the time being, until we can have time to sit down as a county, and not just Franklin, but have the other municipalities together in a room and have a summit about urban growth boundaries. That would be my request to all of you tonight. Again, thank you for all for your service.
Mr. Crutcher? Okay, have no other public comments.
I gave you a notice, Beth Lincoln.
Item 6 is what you listed, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just the one but that's fine.
Were you wanting to speak on this item?
Yes, sir.
I'll change it to
I'm very sorry.
number 3, and we won't call you on item 6. Please come up. Ms. Lincoln. 2 minutes, please.
I'm Beth Lincoln. I live at 4498 Pratt Lane in Franklin. I am not one of the 26 that signed an affidavit. I'm more concerned about what people want to do with their properties, their business, but my concern is our road is a dead-end country road, and we have just gone through the pain of the Dave Ramsey having to build a road around our bridge, and they did a very good job of trying to maintain that and maintain it. But of these 26 people who applied for this city's, not all of those are on Pratt Lane, but the ones that are, only 3 of those people actually live in residences and will be affected by anything type of development that will go on that road. The rest of them own property, but they don't live in them, or they lease them or rent them out. So I just want y'all to take that in consideration, that there's a whole bunch of people there in the middle who didn't sign the waivers and didn't sign to be in the city, but we're the ones who's going to be the most effective because all these people who don't even live on our Pratt Lane. The people on the other roads, I can't speak for them because I don't know, but I just want that to be a consideration. The roads, the inconvenience, the construction, all the things that are going to have to happen. And as we spoke the other night, that bridge has a weight limit on it, and that's why Ramsey's and them, when they were building, couldn't use it. So we just need to make sure that our stuff is taken care of as well when we're the county and they're the city and everybody's trying to use the same things. And we just want you to take that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Martin. Open for discussion. Vice Mayor, you made the motion. You want to say anything, or
I
you?
would only say a couple of things. Two things to the comments that were made. Number one, a deferral kills the request because it will not be able to get on the October 22nd. So a deferral is basically a no. And the other is this: we don't annex just I don't want to say willy-nilly. We only annex because the state only allows us to annex whenever there is a request made by the property owner. So it's not, so it's not just, we just suddenly saw a piece of property that we liked and we wanted to acquire it. That's not how it works, and that's not how we do the annexation process. So those 2 things I want to clarify before we go on into the vote.
Alderman Bransford.
I just want to comment on the recommendation that the elected bodies get together and discuss. For some reason, I see value in that. When elected people from the different townships can sit around together and create a win-win, and I will be in support of that. Also, when you have properties, when we annex a property, let's just say, how quickly do we provide services to those annexed property, city services? And the other thing is infrastructure in a dead-end road would be a concern. And also for the referendum, if that moves forward, who votes? Is it city employees or is it
The landowners.
Only the property owners vote, so
Property
And
owners
residents.
and also whoever
Property
lives.
owners and whoever
And what,
lives on
and
that
residents.
property.
city
Of the land.
of the land. So other people who have concern about that will not have a vote in the referendum? No. Okay, I'm just learning this, I guess.
I might point out, you raised the issue about a joint meeting with the county commissioners. We've had one meeting, and it's my understanding that we're targeting a date in January, late January, to have a meeting concerning land use, but we're very focused on our zoning ordinance right now. Alderman McClendon.
Well, Commissioner Lawrence is correct. Something like 15 or 20 years ago, we did create the urban growth boundaries. We did so under compulsion from the state. They had enacted what we called the tiny town law. And those of you that watch this know that I will speak candidly to these things. Basically, what happened was that at the end of a legislative session, a disgruntled legislator from West Tennessee decided that they'd had enough of whatever it was that was going on down there. And we kind of got a hastily created law that compelled all the counties in Tennessee to create these urban growth boundaries and all that. And I believe it was Mayor Sharber and Clint Callicott that kind of drove that bus. And so, yeah, we did all sign on to this urban growth boundary regime that we've been operating under for this long. Unfortunately, what happened next, and when I say next, I mean more recently, is that the state again changed the rules about annexation. When we created the UGB that we've been operating under, the cities had the presumptive power to annex within the UGB at their discretion and did not need further permission or even request. Well, that carpet's been ripped out from under the cities now. And so now we have a UGB that we can't even annex into without request. So they've turned the whole thing on its head, and we can't annex at all without request, within or without of the UGB. So the UGB regime was sort of destroyed by the act of the legislature. Now, I'm dissatisfied with the way that it currently works, the way that it used to work. If we were still operating under that regulatory environment, we could not entertain this annexation. And perhaps that, and without reopening the UGB, and that's probably been the third rail of Williamson County politics for a long time, the idea of reopening this UGB. Because everybody's, I mean, let's be honest, it was a big deal-cutting event at the time. And some people were in and some people were out, and not everybody that got in, not everybody that was left out wanted to be left out, and other people that probably should have been put into the UGB in Franklin or elsewhere were not, because they were able to, you know, make things happen the way they wanted to. So it was an imperfect system, but it was at least stable for a while. Well, now what's happened is the state legislature's gone back and said, more or less, it feels to me like the state legislature has basically said that, you know, these municipalities are greedy, land-grabbing entities, and we got to stop them unless somebody asks to be annexed. Maybe that's not what they meant to say, but that's kind of how it's become now works. Because we have area within the UGB that we cut the deal 20 years ago, we still can't annex it without a request. So I don't feel like we should be held to play by the same rules that existed 20 years ago when the rules also got changed on us along the way. So I'm not especially sympathetic to that portion of what Commissioner Lawrence has to say. However, it was a good idea for the community at large to sit down and make a comprehensive deal. And from the city of Franklin's perspective, we were largely driven by drainage basins. So it wasn't just raw politics. It was where are the topography features that drive sewer? Because the city of Franklin's UGB was driven by where does growth make sense for us? And growth makes sense for the city of Franklin where we can serve with sewer. That is the single largest distinguishing feature between what being within the city of Franklin means in terms of infrastructure and service versus not being in the city. That's what's different. Everybody can pick up trash, everybody can provide police and fire and all that. Not everybody can provide sewer. So that's what's different. This area happens to be, as I understand it, within our drainage basin. And I'm not sure why it wasn't included in the original UGB. It wouldn't legally matter now, but for planning purposes, maybe it should have been and maybe it shouldn't have been. Whatever happened, happened. But at this point, I do know this. We can't annex unless we're requested, and we can only do it by this referendum mechanism, which without calling an expensive special election, we can only do every 2 years. So I'm a little bit reluctant to turn down the opportunity to annex and therefore plan that area of property which seems to be appropriate for ultimately being within the city. Although at the same time, I think Commissioner Lawrence is correct. We shouldn't just be acting unilaterally and expecting the county, Thompson Station, Spring Hill, Brentwood, and elsewhere to just react. Because then you wind up with, in some cases, some of these communities are contiguous. You could wind up with kind of a race to the referendum, and that's a terrible way to plan. So I do think it would be a good idea for in spite of the fact that we're currently doing something big too in their zoning ordinance, I do think it would be a good idea for the mayor, our mayor, the mayor of the county, and other mayors to create a working group. And as much as I look forward to having breakfast with our county commissioners, there's 24 of them and 9 of us, and that's too many people to work on this. Never mind add Spring Hill, Thompson Station, Fairview, and everybody else. I do think we should have a working group, and I think that working group also ought, at this point, ought to tackle, be ambitious and tackle things like schools. The annexation strictly on drainage basin grounds makes sense from an engineering perspective, but it's an inadequate and incomplete frame of reference. We need to know where the county's planning to put schools so that we can say, well, that's great, because we can plan with that and not against it. Because it is fair to say that we've kind of done our thing, they've kind of done their thing, and there's less coordination than I think would be optimal. That said, this is, if we could get the legislature to put us on level ground, I'd be a lot more inclined to start postponing things. But we're not on level ground. We're stuck only able to annex, plan, and execute when we are asked. And I don't remember the last time we had anything more than one property owner with a fraction of the property at stake here come in and ask. And lest I sound like I'm ambitious and greedy and all those other things that somebody might think, we're doing it so that we can plan it, not so that we can ruin it. So let's be clear about what the objective here is. And our plan may be nothing. I'll be honest with you. I agree with Ms. Martin. The donut hole is a huge problem. And I'm probably, if I'm willing to annex it, I'm probably not willing to zone it for actual development until we have the donut hole problem fixed. Because we've all sat through meetings where we had the donut hole problem, and it's a disaster for everyone. The people who are in the donut hole don't like what happens around them. We're stuck planning piecemeal. It's a terrible result. So I would really like to see that whether the state legislature makes us do it or even lets us do it, I think it would be a good idea for a smaller functional working group to sort of sit down and say, where does it make sense now? Because we do have 20 years worth of experience towards building out this UGB. And with drainage basin schools and all these other things, infrastructure projects and all these other things. So that said, I think I'm willing to support this because it is a planning mechanism. I don't view it as a zero-sum game. It's a planning mechanism, and I think ultimately that's probably an area that's going to develop. Its proximity to the interstate suggests to me that it's probably an area that's going to develop in a more urban way than in a more rural way.
Vice Mayor?
Not to belabor any of that, but if I remember, there was 8 zones. I'm not sure which one Alderman Clinton had, but Mayor Sharble was kind enough to give me South Hall. Now, there hasn't been anything that's happened in South Hall other than the closing of the halfway market in quite some time. So therefore, I was not taxed greatly to come up with the urban growth plans and what we had to do for South Hall. Many other, and 7 other aldermen had 7 other zones that we went through. So I remember the urban growth plan, I remember the items that Alderman McClendon has mentioned, and what we went through, and we went through the process of setting that up. So, again, I'm gonna support the referendum, the vote for the referendum, and, I'm not willing to look at it 2 years from now, and that's basically what it means, unless the property owners wanted to pay for the referendum, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Ready to vote? Alderman Martin? Berger.
Yep.
I'm looking at Alderman Martin. Excuse me.
Thank you, Dana, for what you said. It was very well said, and a lot of thought went into that. UGBs were originally created to give health and growth to cities. And if you look throughout the United States, a long time ago I studied some articles, I read articles, and then I did some study on UGBs years ago, probably back in, I don't even know when, it's been a while, at least 20, 25 years ago. But UGBs were given to cities for their health and their growth, to have some kind of logical way to grow. And if you look throughout the United States, the cities that had a UGB or have a UGB are really healthy cities. So they have a way to grow, and especially if they're well planned. The UGB in this area and outside the area, Commissioner Lawrence and Commissioner Story, I think your concerns are very valid about where do we stop? But I think a logical place is the number one, when Dana brought up the fact that it is a place that does have sewer, it does have the drainage basins, it does have the infrastructure, it is right there by the interstate. So this area does make sense. And when you get outside the areas and the properties that we're looking at, that drainage basin ends. And this city is never one to go and say, let's do more pump stations. We do not like to vote for pump stations. We rarely ever do. So I think that is a natural ending of where we would even consider any more annexation in that area because of the drainage basins really dictate that. So we are not acting unilaterally with that. The other thing with schools, we are meeting every quarter with the schools and planning along with the schools. I had a 45-minute meeting with Superintendent Golden just before school started. I talked to him about a week before school started. Went to his office, we sat down, and I told him my number one concern is when we approve development, how schools are going to be planned and paid for. In the meantime, I'm working with them, talking about land uses and where land can be properly put for schools. That is really a very strategic and very important question that we have to ask, and we have to work with them. And I think in the summit, Mr. Mayor, when we have the summit, this is one of the issues that we need to really pursue and talk about. So, and they're on top of it. They are working to start, they have been planning and been working, and now that new Superintendent Golden's on board, he is very interested in working even more closely with the city for planning purposes so we can project. These areas are set. Someone said about infrastructure, they talked about annexation, they talked about growth and not allowing growth to development till infrastructure takes place. We do not run outside in front of growth to plan the infrastructure. It has to go hand in hand. I think the only thing we've done since I've been elected is we went out ahead and built McEwen because we knew that corridor was so important to move traffic. But we'd have to raise taxes, we'd have to dig for oil in order to do this. because we don't have the money to go out and build infrastructure ahead of development and try to guess where it goes and take our land use plan and say, okay, we're gonna do this section and that section. We have to wait till there is landowners who wanna sell their land and developers who come in and say, there needs to be commercial, there's companies coming in, they wanna build a building, or there's residential needed. And so that's why we have our infrastructure, that's why we have our impact fees. So they can build the roads, and put in the infrastructure needed. So all those things go hand in hand. We can't jump out ahead. We don't have an oil field out back. Money just flows that we can run out and build all the infrastructure ahead of time. But hand in hand, and I will say that before I was even on the board, the planning done by this city was remarkable. And when Mr. Martin was our planning director, he had worked with developers who came in and built Cool Springs Boulevard. They built it. The city did not build it. They put in all that infrastructure. And if we hadn't done Carruthers, we hadn't done the part of McEwen, if we hadn't done the different infrastructures that we have been doing in the last 15 years, we'd be in a world of hurt. We have been planning. We have been executing those plans. And that's what we're trying to do here. And this is why I would support this, because we do need to reach out and do what you're asking us to do. Plan. You're not against growth? Fine. But you said you're not against growth, but plan it, be strategic. This is what this is about. This is why this is so important, to do a strategic plan, to allow our planning department to set Envision Franklin, and take a look at that area and plan for that area in the years to come, in the 10 and 15 and 20 years to come for this area. And this is why I would support it.
Ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 4, consideration ordinance 2019-26 to be entitled an ordinance to establish 4-hour time limit for all parking spaces located on West Main Street between 5th and 7th Avenue. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bransford. Any
4 hours?
Just, look, we can.
I just read it, 4 hours.
Okay, not all day.
Is that what you want?
I said before, I'm gonna vote for 4 hours every time I get the chance. Yeah.
So now y'all have thoroughly confused me. So we did have a motion and we did have a second, correct? And it's now open for discussion, and I'll recognize Alderman Peterson, then Alderman Martin.
Whenever we looked at this before, it was stated that contact had not been made with the downtown groups. Has there been any discussion with downtown Franklin? I'm sorry, has there been any discussion with the Downtown Franklin Association or the Downtown Neighbors Association? Because I remember last time it was stated that none of the Downtown Franklin groups had been contacted.
We have not had further, I mean, this was requested by an alderman, so we moved forward with that, but we have not had a specific dialogue about this two-block proposal.
Alderman Martin.
This has been a little bit confusing. We've sort of beaten this dog to death, but my intention was to have 2-hour parking, 4-hour parking between 6th and 7th, and 2-hour from 5th to 6th. But it came out in the ordinance to have it 4 hours on both sides of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
From 5th to 7th. That's not what that says.
It's option 4.
There you go.
It's
Okay.
all
That's
green.
not it either.
Keep going.
That's
Keep
not.
going.
It's gotta be all green.
That is,
Stop.
is past it.
There.
Yeah. And that's really all right with me, and I would support that. 4 hours on both sides from 5th to 7th. I believe it would be a little easier for people to understand, for it to all be 4 hours instead of 2 hours in this block and 4 hours in that block. So it's fine with me, and I will support this.
Any other comments? Vice Mayor, then Alderman Speedy.
Okay. You know, when we looked at this and we did our parking study and the time that we put into it and the 2-hour turnover and the estimated time that someone parks there was less, in these particular areas was less than 2 hours, that's the reason we came up with a 2-hour study. I'd be willing to bet that no one knows how many parking places or how many cars are involved in this little 2-block area and 6th Avenue and the parking that's parked into the building itself. Okay? So, because I'm gonna tell you, believe it or not, there is 60 places, 60 cars, places that we're talking about in here. There's 30 that we're talking about removing the 2-hour parking, making it 4. I have no objections, as Alderman McClendon said, I have no objection to making them all 4 if we want to make them all 4. But what we've done is we've taken this, and because of one property owner, we have eliminated and removed the 2-hour restriction and made it 4. The next property owner that comes in and says, my employees don't have enough places to park, therefore I want it removed to 4 and not 2. Theoretically, and somebody help me out on this and correct me, theoretically, if you timed this at 4, you could park there for 8 hours, right? I mean, if you timed right after parking, when the person who is doing the timing goes there, if you parked right behind him, you would be able to almost park 8 hours in that parking place based upon the 4-hour restrictions that you're asking for right now. Is that fair? Is that unfair to say that?
That would be a failure of enforcement.
Yeah.
No. I can go in. If that person that's doing this, that's doing the enforcement, goes in at 8 o'clock. If I go in at 5 minutes after 8, he's not gonna come back till 12. Then the enforcement goes from 12 to 4. So it's 8 hours then that you do this. And I'm fine with the removal of this if that's what we wanna do. But I will say to you that there is probably as many as 60 cars parked in this little area, and that's including 6th Avenue. That's including the 2 blocks that we're looking at, and that's including the driveways going into the location of the building, going into the side off of 6th Avenue, and going into the side off of West Main in the front, where there's 2 parking places there. So, and that's the issue. Alderman Martin's brought it forward. If that's what the board wishes to do, I'm fine with that. But the next time that it comes up and somebody else wants to do 4-hour parking, I'm gonna be pretty doggone sympathetic to their request also.
Alderman Speedy.
I guess you said all the parking studies were done, especially between 5th and 6th. I just think that needs to stay 2 hours. You're talking about crossing the street to where all the commercial and retail shops are. I mean, if they need to park more than 2 hours, I mean, from 6th, you get 2 blocks to our 4th Avenue garage to 4 blocks to our 2nd Avenue garage. They can park out farther. I think this is a slippery slope. And I guess the option 7 I could go with, but for the intensity of what 5 Points is, I think those need to be 2-hour spots.
Alderman Martin.
If we change this to this one that you're talking about, the 2 hours from 5th to 6th, could we go on and pass it tonight, or does it have to go through another?
You'd have to amend the motion, Alderman Martin.
Could we vote on it?
This is the second reading, but you could vote on it, yeah. You can amend
make
it.
an amendment.
If you'd like to vote on it, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll do that. I would like to amend that motion that we go to the 2 hours. What is that?
Parking option 7.
Number 7. Paul, is that okay?
He shouldn't be giving you advice right now.
Paul,
there's logic to what you're saying.
Paul, is that
Being
okay?
close to 5 points. There's definitely logic, like you're saying, being close to 5 points
Okay.
with that
So-
commercial retail.
So
All right, we have a motion
Is that
to amend the motion to go to option 7, and I haven't heard a second yet. Was that a second, Alderman McClendon?
I was gonna say. Not gonna catch me seconding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Speedy. Okay, the amendment is open for discussion. Alderman Martin, you made it. You just get to discuss first.
All right, this was my intention to start with. Only 4 hours from 6th to 7th on both sides of the street. That's what this shows, so that's the reason I'm for it. That will take care of the people in the office part.
Alderman McClendon.
Okay. With all due respect, Alderman Martin,
Oh, you don't have any respect.
well, I did qualify by saying, with all due respect. I made a judge mad, really mad one time when I said, with all the respect that may be due.
Stick to the subject, please, Alderman.
Which is different, but whatever. Nothing's changed, and everybody should vote the same, and that is confusing. You drive down West Main there, and you don't get a spot in the first cluster. It just, I mean, we are never going to arrive at the perfect parking solution until we build some parking. And we're always going to have people pushing and shoving. The merchants want 2 hours so they can flip spots. The lawyers want 8 hours so they can stay all day. The people that work at the courthouse want all day. The restaurants want 2 hours or 4. Who cares? I mean, there's never going to be a consensus. We're going to make someone mad every time we do this. We need to stop doing this. I would love if we could get back to 4 hours everywhere, because honestly, I don't think any of this has been an improvement. Has anyone that actually comes downtown noticed any significant improvement in our parking problem? In our parking problem as a whole?
This is not a forum to get a vote, by the way.
It's a rhetorical question.
Thank you.
Since we went to 2 hours. I haven't, and I'm down here almost every day. So I'm speaking against this motion to amend because that's confusing. We're piecemealing up downtown. I'm going to vote for 4 hours every time I get the chance, because I'm willing to make whoever that makes mad, because it's logical. And we need to get out of the business of having specific property owner-driven alderman requests occupying an hour of our time every 2 weeks.
Vice Mayor.
Well, first off, I can't afford to make too many people mad for the next 2 months. You can, I can't. But there's no break on the archive side for 6th Avenue under that scenario. Now, you could logically argue for the break, but there's really no break there that would give you the 2 hour to the 4 hour parking on the archive side of West Main. Look at where 6th Avenue comes out, and look at your parking straight across, okay? Now, your break is to the west of that slightly, that you could possibly put up your signs if you wanted to do that. I understand what you were wanting to do, but again, I'm gonna side with Alderman McClendon. The next request that comes in for 4, there'll be a second to your motion.
Any other discussion? You ready to vote on the amendment to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Show of hands, all in favor. All in favor of the motion, I see.
Of the motion or the amendment?
Of the amendment, I'm sorry.
So by going against it, then we're keeping the 2 hours on the entire street?
No, you're going back.
Go back to the original.
We're going to get back to the motion. It'll be 4.
Alderman McClendon, I'll explain it if you like, or if you want to come up here in my chair and explain it, go ahead.
Maybe one day I will.
This year's not the year, it looks like.
Never know what I'm going to do. I didn't want to be an alderman in the first place.
Alderman Speedy, are you clear what we're doing? We're on an amendment for option 7.
Okay.
If this fails, then we go back to the original motion, which is 4 hours
Okay.
everywhere between 5th and 7th.
Okay.
Okay, so a show of hands, those in favor of the amendment.
Sure.
I see two hands, those against the amendment. The amendment fails. So we'll now move back to the original motion.
4 hours. I made the first. Originally.
Which is
To accept the 4 hours.
to accept the 4 hours, yes.
That's,
So you ready to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
No.
Passes 6-2.
I would ask, but I don't. Too late.
Next item is item number 5. Consideration resolution 2019-41, a resolution to annex several properties located east and west of Lewisburg Pike, north and south of the intersection at Stream Valley Boulevard, consisting of 318.49 acres in the Southbrook PUD subdivision and joining the city property, blah, blah, blah. This should be deferred to November the 12th because of the development plan and the zoning. So I would ask that this be deferred to
Move that we
November 12th.
defer to November 12th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 6, this is an ordinance to rezone .28 acres from R3 to office residential for the property located at 1330 Columbia Avenue. Establish a public hearing for September the 24th. Is there a motion? Seeing no motion, the item fails. Item 7, Resolution 2019-85, a resolution to award the construction contract for the Municipal Services Complex project and establish a project contingency. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Peterson, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 8, consideration professional services agreement with C&T Engineering and Inspection LLC for construction, engineering, and inspection services for the Cool Springs Area Adaptive Signal Control Technology Project in an amount not to exceed $82,350.
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? All ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 9, consideration reappointment of Todd Palmer to the Franklin Sustainability Commission.
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bransford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 10, reappointment of Danny Anderson to the Development Services Advisory Commission.
Move for
Move
approval.
approval. Okay, I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Motion by Alderman Bransford. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 11, consideration reappointment of Nick Beneker to the Development Services Advisory Commission.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 12, consideration reappointment of Matt Bryant to the Development Services Advisory Commission. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Appropriate. Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. All in favor say aye.
Aye.